I'm Alex Rathel from Board Game Co, and today I'm reviewing Six Sojourns from Red Raven Games. Six Sojourns is a 2 to 4 player area control game that plays in 45 to 60 minutes, giving players 9 turns, just 9 turns, to go ahead and get everything done in the game. The way the game is structured is you're going to, well, before we do that, let's talk about a few things. Number 1, this channel is sponsored by I'll Play more with them at the end of the video. Number 2, Six Sojourns is kind of a remaster of 8-Minute Empires. I played 8-Minute Empires way back in the day. I don't remember if I played Legends or the base game or various expansions. I don't remember, but I've definitely played 8-Minute Empires. And 8-Minute Empires is kind of a game that does not take 8 minutes as much as the name might imply that, but it is a 15 to 25 minute game in which you are also going to be taking a variable number of turns. I don't remember exactly if it's 9. There's differences between the two systems, but it's a kind of a dialed down version of what this one does. This has a bunch of changes to 8-Minute Empires. Number 1, it's longer and lets you do more. Not super long, it's still a 45 to 60 minute game as opposed to a 2.5 hour area control game, but it's certainly longer than the, well, for sure longer than the 8-Minute Empires that 8 minute, for sure longer than the 8 minutes that 8-Minute Empires promised, but even longer than the 20-25 minutes that it would actually take. But it's longer than that, it lets you do more as far as the actions you're taking. Movement in the game is easier, you can move full groups of people, giving you more flexibility to get around the board. You have ship movement, and you can place ships out and then travel through ships. There's a bunch of small changes that change up the way the game 8-Minute Empires works, in addition to the fact that there's more boards, a bigger box, a ton of modular expansions. It basically takes that game concept and makes it into a bigger game. So just so you know, like, the history of Six Sojourns. Past that though, as far as what Six Sojourns is doing, is in the game you have 9 turns. In each turn, you're going to go ahead and buy one of these cards in the market. You can take the first card. It's free. Take that one. It's amazing. Or you can take a later card, which might cost more money as printed on the board, but you're going to go ahead and be paying money. And since you only start with 12 money and you have 9 turns, if you pay 4 cards, I'm good at math there, 4 money per card across 9 turns would be 36 money. That's 3 times as much money as you have. And so you have to take those decisions carefully. If you run out of money too early, you will be taking that 0 card, whether it's good for you or not. So that 4 card might be amazing, but you have to balance your economy across the turns of the game. Now, there are potentially ways to get more money because the cards are going to do a lot for you. You only have 9 cards, so they do have to carry a lot as far as what the game does. So let's go ahead and gather a card over here and show you the various things a card does. The first thing it does is it's going to give you these set collection symbols. At the end of the game, one of the big chunks of points you're going to get is for set collection of these various attributes in the corner. Depending if you have 4 or 7, and that means 4 or more or 7 or more, you'll get the shown number of points for having set collection in each of these. And these cards will be one of the ways you get that set collection off the bat. The second thing the card does is it gives you a bunch of things right away. This card is going to give us 3 people, so we can take 3 people, as well as a house. People have to be placed right away. A house can go in front of you, ready to be placed when you have a good opportunity to do so, because right now, for example, placing a house out would actually not be legal or helpful because I'm only in this region. But other things the cards are going to do is they're going to give you ships as well as movement. So over here we can see a ship, which once again, ships can go in front of you. People have to be placed the turn you get them or by the end of the turn. Ships over here, as well as houses, can be saved and placed when beneficial. But this also gives you 4 movement, which is going to help you move around the board. Maybe go ahead and take some movement over here. We place down a ship. That's going to allow us to travel through that ship, moving over to another island. Alternatively, players can also use opponent ship, paying them money in order to go ahead and do so. You cannot refuse that, but money is such a precious resource. Why would you want to refuse? Well, there's many reasons you'd want to refuse, but you can't refuse that. So that's what the cards are doing. The cards are giving you houses, ships, movement, and people to slowly spread out around the board. After all, this is an area control game. The last thing the cards are going to do is give you either points or ongoing effects. This one gives you 2 points if you have 5 people on 1 space at the end of the game. This one gives you a money at the start of your turn. That's a great starting card to go and get your hands on. It may well be worth paying 2 money on the first turn to go ahead and give you a card that's going to give you money every single turn of the game. It's going to pay for itself and give you greater flexibility on everything else you're doing. So on your turn, you buy a card. That's what you do. You buy a card. That card is going to give you movement, people, houses, and ships, which are going to help you move around the board. It's also going to give you an ability or points, which are going to help you. You get an extra movement every turn. You get a new guy each turn. You go ahead and get money each turn, or you get points for a variety of things. That's basically the game structure. Do that for 9 turns, and that's it. After 9 turns, you're going to go ahead and weigh up your points. Where are the points going to come from? You're going to get points for over here for these islands. So not for islands, but you're going to get points for these set collection, which we already talked about. If you get enough symbols, you get a bunch of points. You need to focus, but again, you need to trade off that focus with everything else you're trying to do. You're also going to get points for controlling various spaces and islands on the board. The way that works is every area that you control, whether a sea space or a land space, is going to be worth a single point if you control that. If there's a tie, no one gets the points, so try to go ahead and control as many things as possible. But also, you're going to get an extra point whenever you control an island, the majority of the spaces on that island. Looking at this island right now it's even control. Well, no one really controls the center space over here. Well, actually, that's not true because someone moved ahead their people. Well, still no one controls because red and yellow, no one has a majority. If white goes ahead and moves here, white now controls the majority of the spaces on the island. And in addition to getting 1-2 points, they'll get a third point because they have the most spaces on the island. That 1 point is equally true whether it's a giant landmass like this or whether it's a 1 or 2 space island like that. You will still get a single bonus point for having the majority of spaces on an island. Ties means no one gets that point, so go ahead and control people. I'd say fight people, but there's not really a lot of fighting in this game. It's more about movement than it is about removing other people from the board. That's going to be the idea. Do that for 9 turns, try to puzzle out, and that's it. That's all there is to the game. That's all there is. But wait, there's more. There's, I think, 11 expansions. Now, I should note, this is the crowdfunding version of the game. There's a retail version coming as well, which has, I think 6 expansions. But this version has 11 expansions to the game, as well as 8 maps. So, for example, let's just grabbing a random map over here. We have another board. These boards are all double-sided, so I can also go ahead and flip this, but I don't want to flip the table. We have a totally different way as far as how you're going to be expanding and moving around the table. You have this one over here, which again gives you new ways you have to be mindful as far as what area control puzzle you're playing. Different maps with different aesthetics are going to give you more decision space, but also 11 expansions are going to mix up the game. I will not be going over all 11 expansions in this, but I'll just give you a general idea of the 2 I have set up, so you can just have a sense of to the various things that these expansions are going to do. Number 1, we have places. You have a place deck that you can go ahead. These cards are place cards. Place cards give you points if you control specific areas on the board. 3 points if I control this space. And you have different decks for each of the 8 maps, so you're completely covered. Mix in your basic place cards together with your basic cards, and that's going to give you your little deck, at least for that expansion. We also have these tokens over here, these trade tokens. These get placed out to anywhere you want, whether sea spaces or land spaces. Do all that before you start your exploration, and players who control these at the end of the game are going to get these additional sets, additional icons that will go towards set collection. So maybe you go ahead and head off towards a far off island because you need to get the right tokens that will help you maximize your set. That's going to give you another thing to fight over as well as another thing to get. That's just 2 of the 11 modules. The various modular expansions add a lot of different areas, some more rules dense than others, but they're going to totally change up your gameplay experience because you can mix and match any combination. You can play with 5 modules in one game. I think you can play with all 11 modules. I have not tried that. I have not played with all the modules yet either. I might come back and do a full 12x12 review, which is a format on the channel where I review a game once I've explored every aspect of the game, every player count, every module, every variation. I guess every theoretical variation would be a lot if you know math, but a lot. If I've encountered everything this game has to offer, I may come back and do a re-review. For right now, I've played about half the modules and different amounts of them per game. I've played with as little as 1 module. I have not played a single game with no modules. I should do that for a 12x12 review. But I've played with as little as 1 module, and as much as I think the most I've played with so far was 4 modules. I have to go ahead and check that game. But either way, that's basically what's going on in Six Sojourns, which means it's time for my review of what I like, don't like, and can see others not liking, starting off with what I like. And I will say I like this game so much, and it's not clear to me why I like this game so much, at least from the basic idea of it. The basic idea is you draft some cards, you pay for the cards, and then you do a bunch of things. Why is this so satisfying? And it is so satisfying. And I should note, I did like the original 8-Minute Empires. I was always a fan of that game. For me, the biggest problem with it was it felt like it was trying to be a big box game in a small box size, and I'm usually not a fan of that. I usually find I want a big box game to be a big box size, and so when Six Sojourns was announced, I was already excited for it. I was already excited for the game when I first heard about it, because I thought it might be a better version of the game I liked. Although I wasn't prepared for just how much I liked it. I liked it so much, and as far as some of the reasons why, because again, I couldn't tell you the perfect sauce that goes into loving a game, but as far as some of the various elements, the decision space versus the game time is top notch. For a game that takes 45 to 60 minutes, the amount you can actually do in the game is absolutely insane, and how every single card matters. You're only picking 9 cards in the game. That's going to be tough choices as far as how you choose which card is the right move. This card's going to collect that set. This card's going to give me a coin every turn, and it's turn 1 of the game, but this card's going to give me 2 boats, and 2 boats on turn 1 is equally powerful. example. Other players might pay me to use my boats to spread across the islands until they get their own boats. You can get a boat monopoly in this game if you play your cards right, and other players will be feeding into that. It can be worth paying 4 coins to get those boat cards before other players can afford to do so, because they're saving all their money to pay you the toll. That can happen in a game, or it can be a totally different game where we all have our own boats and you just focus on area control. Every single decision you make across those 9 decisions is incredibly impactful, and the amount you feel, the strategic depth you feel in a 45-minute game cannot be overstated. And the card combinations, as far as how you're going to choose which cards sync well within your engine, every choice matters an absolute ton. The 8 boards, which I have not played through all 8 yet, but the 8 boards gives you a ton of variety because the boards do matter. Even the starting position matters. You don't just choose, like, this isn't the starting space, this is the starting space I chose. I think strictly speaking, they actually recommend having the largest island and somewhere that touches the ocean as an ideal starting space, so maybe over here, maybe this would be an ideal starting space. But you can choose anywhere you want. You can go on the largest island, or you can go ahead and have a knife fight in a phone booth and start off on this island over here, forcing players to get boats and forcing players to fight over those 2 small lands. And that's, again, it's so impactful as far as how you go ahead, the variety of the boards provide, the variety of the start space and how that changes it up, and then the variety of the expansions. 11 expandable modules that you can mix and match in different configurations gives you so much gameplay variety and allows you to ease into it. I would recommend starting with 1 or 2 small expansions because I don't think even if you start with places, I think places is the first expansion. Just start with places. It's a very straightforward expansion to add, and it gives you an idea of what this game looks like when you're mixing and matching modules, and it does so at a very low rules overhead. Or if you want, you can go ahead and dive into like 3 or 4 expansions off the bat. I wouldn't recommend that. This game is short enough. You can play it back to back and do that for your second game, but the game has so much expansions, giving you a lot of expandable content, and it gives you the area control as well. The area control of this game is area control with less feel bad combat. I like combat in games, don't get me wrong. A lot of my favorite area control games do have combat, and that means killing other units and they go away and they go bye-bye. This game doesn't really have that, in the sense that it's far more about positioning than it is like, hey, your units are gone now. That doesn't really happen quite as much in this. This is much more about, okay, well, you have 3 guys there, I have 5, so you might want to move elsewhere if you're trying to get things done. So if you don't like having your guys removed in an area control game, this is going to happen. It's not going to really be happening in Six Sojourns. Not to mention, the last thing is there's also a 6-game campaign arc, which I also have not played. I have no interest in it. We'll come back to that soon, and I should do that if I do a full 12x12 review, but there is so much going on in this game, which brings me to the things I don't like about the game. And the first thing I'll say is not really I don't like, I just don't care, which is that 6-game arc. The reason it's called Six Sojourns, aside from the retail game having 6 expansions, but it's because you go ahead and utilize 1 expansion in each game, and you go on this 6-campaign arc, and you just play it that way. To me, it just feels like a set of linked games, at least from reading the rules. I have not played it, but from reading the rules, it just feels like play 6 games in a row for no like strong reason past the fact that you can do that, and that doesn't really feel like a compelling reason to do so. If you're going to give me a campaign arc, give me a sense of stronger progression than just playing 6 games in a row. So I wasn't so enthused with that. I love the game system, didn't really care, at least for my reading of the rules. I'll report back in a future review once I've explored every aspect of this game. The only thing I really don't like in the game is endgame optimization is an unsatisfying puzzle for everyone involved. When you get to the end of the game, and they do have this tower system, which is actually really clever. The tower system is basically the earlier you go in turn order, the more towers you have. On your very last turn, you place a tower out onto the spots on the board, and no one can touch those spots. They are safe. You control them no matter what. Well, you have to have control of them to place the tower down, but then on subsequent turns, players can't take them away. That results in you having some safe spaces, because on your very last turn, when John goes after you, John can't take those 2 spots you decided are yours. 2 would be in a 3-player game, 3 in a 4-player game. The more players you have, the more towers you have. Well, the more players you have, the more towers you have, the earlier you go in turn order. The last player doesn't get any towers because no one can mess them up anyway. But even with the towers, that still leaves a ton of other spaces on the board that are ripe for pillaging, which means going into the final endgame, there's both an optimization puzzle of how can I get those last few points, because halfway through the game, you're just doing the thing that seems best to a large extent. The very end of the game is a math puzzle where you're like, I can move here, I can move here, I can get 2 points if I go there, I can get 1 point if I go there. That's going to finalize my set over there, which is going to be worth 4 points. You're playing this optimization math puzzle, and you're doing so with the mindfulness that other players can actually undermine what you're doing when they have their final turns as well. And so I think that the end game is the only part of the game experience that I do find unsatisfying. I have thoughts around it, but nothing that I'm actually doing as far as those thoughts. but that's the one element that I would be mindful of. As far as what I can see others not liking, first of all, the lack of combat. While to me it's a pro-ish because I do like combat in games, but I also like games without combat. I like both area control puzzles, but if you're looking for a more combat-based area control game, this is not that. I'll say that the set collection can be overwhelming to math out, and also just might not be what you're looking for in an area control puzzle. You might just want to go ahead and explore the board and, take control of areas, and instead you're trying to puzzle out how many pots of food and hammers do you need to maximize your score, which just might not be what you're looking for. And then lastly, I'll say the early game action cards. Some of these cards, things like getting a unit every turn, getting a movement, getting a coin every turn, if one player gets some of those early game and the others don't really come out, that can be a less feel-good moment for everyone involved, because I think they are important to have one or two of those that feed into your engine as opposed to just point scoring. Later game, point scoring is better. Early game, ongoing increases are better, and if some players get them and others don't, which has happened to me in one or two games, that is an element that can be less fun for the player who feels like they're playing catch-up because they just never had the opportunity to get one of those cards. As far as final thoughts on Six Sojourns, I love it. I love what this game is doing. Every time I play it, it's a crunchy puzzle where I'm trying to figure out just how important every single card is to my engine, and every single card feels like it matters a lot. And you have to choose between, do you buy that 4 cost, that 3 cost, or are you running out of money and you need to be mindful what you're actually going to be spending on. There's going to be cards that let you spend money to get extra people every single turn. There's going to be all kinds of things you can do with your money, paying to travel across others' boats. Maybe you don't bother wasting your time with the boat engine because you don't mind paying a fee here or there, getting onto large land masses and then just having huge battles there. You don't need to be everywhere. It's up to you to choose what you're going to do in this game. Overall, I've really enjoyed this one. I'm excited to continue to dive into it. This is a 5 out of 5 experience for me. It's one of those games that I almost hesitate to give a 5 out of 5 because it's not like super, well, it is super crunchy, but it's not like a heavy game. It's just that the sheer amount of decision space and enjoyment I get for a 50-60 minute game is just hard to beat. I've been having a lot of fun with this one, and I highly recommend it. As far as other game recommendations, first of all, check out, what's it called? Variants. I want to talk about that. I had the idea, as far as variants go, things you could potentially do. I have not done these yet, but you could do things like bidding for first player, in terms of maybe giving everyone extra 2 coins and whatnot, and you could have bidding for first player. That could kind of potentially remove any aspect there. I still think that it wouldn't necessarily help the game structure because you still have the end game. You could even have things like something like DEI, Divide and Impera. They do something in their game where they allow you to score your final turn at the very end of your first turn. That could be a factor too. There's things you could potentially do as far as my complaint about the end game optimization, and one day I might try some of those things. I've had ideas, but for right now I'm just not planning on diving into it. I enjoyed the game plenty as is. As far as other game recommendations, definitely check out Pirates of Maracaibo if you're looking for a game that gives you a lot of decision space in a game that is relatively short. It's a little more than an hour, but I'd say 60 to 90 minutes. And again, it's one of those games that the amount of feel-good and strategic moments you have for a game in that time frame is also top-notch. It was another 5 out of 5 for me. And check out Divide and Impera if you are looking for a game that gives you area control again with less killing things, although there's definitely more killing things there than there is here. But Divide and Impera from Ludus Magnus Studios is one of those sleeper hits that is surprisingly good, has like 3D elements to it, but not gimmicky. It's a very satisfying puzzle to play. And I mentioned at the beginning of the video that Allplay is a channel sponsor. If you go to allplay.com, you can find a variety of games, both from themselves as well as their partner publishers. And if you're in the US, it's $4 flat rate shipping. Check out Moitura from Bitewing Games if you're looking for another game that's going to give you a fairly crunchy area control puzzle in 30 to 45 minutes. In any case, and until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you found this review helpful, and as always, I hope you have a good one.